Next, I'd like to welcome lovely Marco. Woohoo! Another. Ooh! Amazing. So another PR person. Woohoo! There's a
Yes,
few
another
of us in
PR
here.
person.
So Marco originally was a journalist, is that right? And then
Yeah, illusions of grandeur, but
didn't we all? We all wanted to be a journalist. And then worked actually in Bamboo PR, and then now owns it. Now
Yes.
a 7-person agency. And I hear there's quite an interesting story about
yep.
how you became
Yeah,
owner.
there is.
But I'll leave you to tell that.
And I will tell it. And I appreciate a lot of people have asked me already kind of how I got here, and I've been very conscious of saying I'll tell you without obviously telling the story and boring everyone. But I want to start with 3 disclaimers. Number 1 is this is the first time I've ever told it on stage. And it's also the first time I've ever spoken on stage. So please bear with me. Thank you. Thank you. Secondly, I may indeed cry. And I'm sorry if that makes anyone uncomfortable, but it's quite an emotional thing for me. And thirdly, if it is emotional for you or it's triggering, please do not feel ashamed to leave. I'm not going to be offended if you all walk out, but can at least one person stay? Because I'm going to talk about some feelings and what we went through. But the easiest place to start is to kind of go back all the way to 2009. I was a fresh-faced graduate. I graduated into the probably one of the worst economies that the world had ever seen, and I just needed a job. So I looked on Gumtree, of all places, if anyone remembers that, found this advert for a tiny agency, 3 people, and thought, that sounds cool. It's got technology, it's got writing, it's got money that can pay me. So I thought, okay, I'll go for this, and got on really well with the team and joined. Quite quickly after that, my account director, a lady called Nicola, or most people knew her as Nick, and if you were really close to her, you would have known her kind of as Nikki, bought the business, someone left, and it was just us 2. So for the first few years of my career, I was with this lady who I just met, kind of doing PR and marketing for technology companies, and kind of learning the ropes, getting a lot of mentorship, a lot of, I think, faith in this guy who didn't really know what he was doing, who to kind of help start to build this agency that she was taking a punt on. And we'd been around, well, today we've been around 22 years. So it was an established kind of business, and I was excited. I was like, this is cool. I'm learning a lot, doing things I love. I don't really feel like I'm working. And everyone always says, find something that you love to do, and that's kind of the best place to stay. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to stay here for a while. And then 15 years later, I'm still here, and now I'm on stage talking. I'm going to fast forward through many, many years of kind of really great times where kind of business kind of ebbs and flows, and as agency owners, you know that happens. And we're going to go to kind of 2020, where COVID happened. Like everybody, we lost clients cut. And just prior to that, I'd kind of said to Nicola, you know what, I really love this place. I'm going to stay here, which as an owner, I now kind of understand the value of if someone is half decent and kind of impassioned by the company and wants to kind of care about it and help with it. I said, I'll stay here, but look, it's got to work for me. It's got to make sense for me. And I didn't think that was particularly selfish. I thought that was pretty practical. So we kind of came up with this agreement where I kind of got 10%. I bought it as a nominal kind of share. And over 15 years, I was going to kind of gradually buy more and more, kind of to 40%. She'd kind of be at the point of early retirement by then. I'd have learned the ropes. I would have known how to kind of run a company. And she would have retired. In November that year, she, a very well person, to be fair, never really had a sick day in her life. She went into hospital with a stomachache, just out of the blue, which kind of shocked us, but we thought, okay, she was like cheery and everything. And beyond the kind of overnight pain of being like, I think I can help run this company temporarily, everything was kind of okay. After that, this is where I might cry. After that, she, 2 weeks she was in, and she kind of said to us, she came out, well, they found shadows on my scans, and I've got cancer. To which, to this day, I still kind of remember that call and thinking, well, like, what? Are you joking? Like, is this some sort of weird practical joke? And probably all of us in the room have experienced cancer in some way or another. I remember this woman who I kind of looked up to and kind of idolized to an extent, a very maternal energy, a bright person who, in the darkest of days, could laugh and you just feel okay and safe, was telling me that this was pretty shitty news. But I said to her, look, I'm a part owner now, we'll get through this and we'll kind of go from there. Christmas happened, so we went on our kind of our company shutdown. And she came back first meeting and she said, look, I didn't tell you everything because I didn't want to ruin Christmas for you, which is kind of her in a nutshell. And she said, I've got weeks, maybe months to live. And I remember, I cried a lot on that call. And I remember saying, look, I refuse to believe this, and I'm sure that a miracle will happen, and all the things and kind of placating things you say to someone that you love and care about over all this time, you say to try and keep their hopes up. But me and my colleague at the time, who'd been with us a good number of years by then, kind of 7 years, we said, go be with your family. Just go be with your friends. None of this matters. I can run a team, I'll figure out the rest. Learning curves, learning how to run a business, like if you choose to found a business or buy a business, usually I would imagine of that kind of like steepness. Overnight being like, here's a business, off you go. She fought for 18 months because she was young and full of life. She died 18 months after that. All through that period, obviously, there's this agency I kind of bought a small share of. And I didn't know what was going to go on. So I said, look, after a while I said, what's going on? Are you selling it? Am I looking for a job? Are you giving it to me? That's a bit presumptuous, but it's a logical maybe thing. Like she always said, you're the one who I want to do this with. Are you giving it, like, is your husband inheriting it? Am I going to have a shareholder I have to report into? What are we going to do? And so in the end, she said, look, you're the only person that I would ever sell it to because you've always believed in it at the moment you joined, and you'll do it better than me. And it was all very messy, as anyone who's bought a business, even in the cleanest of ways, knows. There were lawyers involved, and we came to terms, and at the end of it, I just didn't really care. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted my friend to be okay, and in the end, she wasn't. And I'm sorry to bring a downer to what was actually some really uplifting stories, but sometimes things go really, really wrong in your agency. I bought it, in hindsight, probably part obligation, part because I really wanted it, and part because I didn't know what to do. And it really did, that learning curve really did send me spinning. For a good 6 months, I was depressed. It wasn't until maybe a year and a half later in some mental health training that we were watching a video and I was like, holy shit, that was me. And ended up leaving the room and just crying my eyes out of self-compassion more than anything. It's a hard story, but it comes out with essentially a great thing for myself. And I just wanted to share, the story to tell you that at the end of the day, we've had loads of practical advice and very valid advice on stage, but it all comes down to the fact that we're people and we all feel and we all go through things. And it's very easy to forget that when you think everything's going wrong. It can always be worse, and there's plenty worse stories than mine. But it's important to always remember that. So with your people and those around you, look out for them. You never, ever know what's going on in people's heads or their lives most of the time. There was a lot of time where our clients didn't have any idea, and it wasn't until I had that horrible day where I had to tell the ones who knew what had happened and the kind of event, and those that didn't, and who had said, Mark, I wish you'd told me. And I'm like, I wish I could. I couldn't. It was too hard to tell like hundreds of people that this person wasn't very well and was kind of heading towards this course. The second piece of advice that I learned over the years was ask for help. I know we all say that, and I know it's the hardest thing a lot of the time to do. I was far too proud. I thought being a business owner is all about, I've got all the answers, I'm smart. So whenever people kind of asked me questions, I'd be like, yeah, but do this. And then that would just get me into problems and all sorts of trouble. And it wasn't until I kind of put my hands up and was like, I don't know, but I'll kind of go find out. And people are really kind. Like when you actually open up your kind of heart and your soul, if you find 99% of the time, Kate, good people, they'll be kind back. And thirdly, and this is the most important kind of lesson I learned all through that kind of period, is to just be really, really kind to yourself. I've done a lot of work with a coach to actually understand who I am, and I think she'd be really proud of this event, of me kind of reaching this point, because I didn't really know what I wanted from my agency. I just really wanted to help out my friend and not let 12 years of my hard effort kind of go down the drain. And a very wise man, just to kind of end on, a man I met actually, just a random bloke. I was telling him kind of what had happened, and I said, look, I don't want this to be my story. Like, I don't want this to be like a mark over guy whose business partner and friend and person that he really cared for kind of died, and that's how he got his agency. And he said very shrewdly and kind of, I think adeptly, kind of said, look, sometimes like the story you get to pick and you get to tell, but sometimes the story kind of picks you. And I'd just like to thank everyone for listening to the one that picked me.